CEO of Skybridge Capital. We've known each other for an awfully long time, and it's always a pleasure and good fun to talk to Anthony.
It's good to be here, guys. Thanks for staying late.
Anthony.
Yep.
I think I need to start with a question that is in all likelihood on everyone's mind here in this room and elsewhere. How is it that you lasted only 11 days as the White House Communications Director, and Pete Hegseth is still the Defense Secretary?
All right, so I'm going to give a serious answer to that, actually, because I think it's interesting. So the Trump won, I think this is the big problem. Trump won was a lot of different people that Trump, frankly, President Trump did not know. And so I can take you to Wednesday, November the 9th, 2016, and tell you where I was at 11 a.m. I was at Trump Tower in the 26th floor office of President-elect Trump. He had just won the election. None of us had slept. And if you saw him in that moment, he's actually been pretty honest about it in forward interviews. He was tentative. He couldn't believe he had won the election. And he was, I don't want to say scared, because it's not the right word, but he was listening. He was like, okay, never done this before. I'm going to go to experts. I'm going to talk to Reince Priebus. I'm going to talk to Paul Ryan. I'm going to talk to somebody like a Gary Cohen or, Stephen Mnuchin. And so he was in a position in Trump 1 where there was a lot of people around him that said, hey, you can't do that, or don't do these tariffs, or don't do this, or don't do that. And so, General Kelly fired me. The reported story was I got fired because of a conversation I had with the New York Magazine person. We'll go with that story. But the truth of the matter is, when Trump hired me, he was fighting with Reince Priebus, and so he told the White House staff secretary to have me report directly to him. And so if you read the memo, he literally said to Priebus, I don't want your taint on Scaramucci. He's going to report directly to me. So the next chief of staff, there was no way I was staying there. The minute he did that, I knew it was a short stay at the White House, which is why I didn't go look for an apartment or anything like that. I was in the Trump hotel. But Trump wanted Bannon gone, got that done. Trump wanted Priebus gone. Spicer quit before I got there, so we didn't have to do anything there. But it's a different White House today. And this is a White House of people that are afraid of Donald Trump. And this is a White House of people that all of those, what I would call garden variety establishment Republicans, are not on the premises. And so that's the reason why he's there. And I like him. I work with him at Fox News. I like him. But he should not be the defense secretary. And you can't do what he did. And of course, we know that there are privates in the American military that would be court-martialed and disgraced if they did exactly what he did. And so when he does all the bro vet thing, and I guess calling these people war fighters now as opposed to soldiers and all that nonsense, you really should resign, because you're hurting all of those people by the example that you're setting.
I do want to remind everyone that you can submit questions. I have an iPad here. I'd love to weave them into the conversation with Anthony, so please don't hold back. He won't, I guarantee that.
Actually held back on that one a little bit, actually, but we're warming up. We're warming up.
Started, Anthony.
I'm trying to feel out the crowd a little bit. They seem very serious, the crowd. Okay.
So you've given
like
us
bad portfolio action going on in this crowd, but okay, all right.
Some insight.
Who likes the tariffs in the crowd? Raise your hand if you're in love with global tariff war 1. Anybody like it? No, not too many people like the tariffs. All right, go ahead.
I was going to ask a follow-up question about Hegseth, because I wonder if we should be, so Trump appears to have quite a lot of patience or tolerance for the things that we know for a fact that the defense secretary has done, and other things that he's alleged to have done, or at least reported to have done. The president is showing a lot of patience and tolerance. What, if anything, should we read into that?
He's Napoleon of the culture war. Donald J. Trump is the field marshal extraordinaire of the culture war. And one of Napoleon's strengths, of course, is that he could anticipate the battle. He had great vision, not only in terms of his peripheral vision, but great vision on a battlefield. And there's nobody that fights the culture war in the United States like Donald Trump. The Democrats have yet to find their Wellington. I don't know where Wellington is, but they're going to need a Wellington. he boxes them in any possible way. They've got Democratic senators visiting people in El Salvador, and they're making that a championship statement, and they've got the whole narrative wrong. Instead of talking about the human rights and the due process, they label the guy a Maryland dad. Okay, you see what I mean? So Napoleon, Donald J. Trump, is looking at the culture war. He sees Pete Hegseth as a protagonist in the culture war with him. He's lean, good-looking guy. He's fit. He's going to go out there and be a bro with the troops. He's going to wipe out DEI generals. He'll do anything I tell him to do at any moment. And I'm fighting a culture war. And the culture war is way more important to me. And my job when I get up in the morning is to own the liberals. How do I own the libs? And if I leave Pete Hegseth in place, I am owning the libs in the country,
what,
even if he's not right and competent to be the head of staff at the Treasury Department.
Forgive me for interrupting, but what if this report by the recently resigned Defense Department spokesman is, what if he's saying is true, that there's a full-blown meltdown, in his words, underway at the Defense Department? How long, I guess the question is, if the president has patience for Pete Hegseth because he sees him as a warrior, in the battle against wokeism and woke culture, what does it take? We know what it took for someone in your position to be marched out the door of the White House. What does it take in this administration?
Not anything that Pete is doing. So I don't necessarily know what it takes, but I think the fever ends when the Republican Congress ends the fever. And so if Thune could end the thing tomorrow, he would just have to say, okay, look, I'm done. McConnell, me, Markowski, maybe Susan up in Maine, we're all going to caucus with Schumer. We're done. Okay, we're going to take back tariff power. By the way, we're going to emasculate you in this job. And oh, by the way, since we're going to lose the midterms, you're going to get a shot at getting impeached here. And by the way, we didn't vote for your impeachment last time on the 7th of January, which we should have, but we're going to do it now. And so that would stop it. Okay, and so they're still afraid of him, but he is a decaying political asset. As you head into the midterms, he's decaying. Now, he's putting out numbers. He's saying he's very proud of, very happy of his poll numbers. He's at 45%. He's at 36% on dealing with the tariffs, 41% in dealing with the economy. They're not great poll numbers. He's had the worst start of an American presidency since 1928. April of this year, stock market activity is similar to the stock market activity in 1932 at the nadir of the Great Depression. So the good news is, and the reason why I'm bullish, is the system I predict will hold. Like Trump and his guys are too arrogant. Okay, so they told the American public, we disavow Project 2025. It was very unpopular. People wanted to believe him. He's very good at that. He knows how to lie to you and get you to give him the benefit of the doubt and get you to believe him until he tells like 30,000 lies a minute. But he then went down the Project 2025. He's coming right down the list. He's doing every single thing that he said he would do in Project 2025. And so they're very, very arrogant about it, and they're trying to weaken and blast. They're trying to liquidate the constitutional system that has existed for several hundred years in the United States that didn't even get liquidated during the Civil War. And so I'm emboldened by the Supreme Court decision, the 7-2 decision over the weekend. I'm emboldened by the poll numbers, and I'm emboldened by, he thinks he's too cute by half. He's going to either declare martial law and try to stop an election, or he's going to say that he's deserving of another election, the whole election denial nonsense and things like that. But I think the system is going to hold. I think the system's going to push him back very hard.
Your criticism of the president obviously precedes this conversation, and it's no secret. It's not the reason that we asked you to come here. We asked you to come here because we know you speak your mind. You're honest about your feelings and your analysis, and also because you have some unique insights into the president himself, right, into the way he runs his administration and the dynamics of the White House. How, with that in mind, do you think President Trump is feeling right now about his second term?
Well, I want to address what you're saying. So, remember, I worked for him for 9 months. Mm-hmm. I did 71 campaign stops, hundreds of hours of media advocacy. I'm from a blue-collar family about 20 miles from here out on Long Island. I actually identified with the message. Okay, the American people, a very large swath of the American people have been left out. You can like that or dislike that. We took blue-collar people in America that were once economically aspirational like my dad, and we made them economically desperate. And we did it in a 35-year period of time. And we left a vacuum of advocacy from establishment politicians. These people would have voted for, their grandparents would have voted for Lyndon Johnson or FDR. And so Trump came in there with this message that was resonating to them. And yes, it was also resonating to me, even though I went on to Wall Street and have had some financial success. My cousins are clamming out on Long Island. They're cutting bologna and deli meat. They're installing auto glass. And many of them are diehard Trump supporters. So I'm laying that as a framework for you. So I was with him. I was with him. And I obviously went to work for him. When he fired me, I stayed with him. You may or may not remember that. But it wasn't until 2019 where I said, okay, I've got to be honest, just like in your portfolio, I've got a position on that is not working. I'm emotionally tied to the position, but I've got to sell this position because this position is really not working, and he's not the right person for this job. He doesn't have the right temperament. He doesn't have the right personality. He doesn't like the system. He was telling members of the Congress that they work for him. They were like, no, we're in a separate article of the Constitution. We don't work for you. Okay, he doesn't like the system. So I want to explain that as the bedrock for what I'm saying. So I think he's happy with where he is right now.
Okay.
And I think he likes the chaos that's going on. And I think that there are two things that drive Mr. Trump, President Trump. There are attention and money. And he's made gobs of money since he arrived in the seat again. He made $1 billion off the crypto. He's made money from various other things that he's working on. God only knows what he's doing. We're now in the golden age of corruption because you can take a look at what goes on in the trading activity. Go to your Bloomberg terminal, look at options activity before announcements are made. And, okay, who's minding the stores or anybody going to get control of the situation? So we're in the golden age of corruption. He's making a ton of money, and he's getting a tremendous amount of attention on him. And he's doing something that they wouldn't let him do in the first term, which is he's having a press gaggle every 5 seconds. He's got the press with him on Air Force One. He's got the press with him in the Oval Office. We're running a reality television show out of the Oval Office, and he's the television producer. And if you know anything about reality television, you need conflict and you need chaos to keep everybody riveted. And so yeah, I think he's very happy with where things are right at this moment.
You know, our understanding as outsiders is that the president can be impressionable, that it really matters who he trusts at any given moment. It really matters who he's listening to at any given moment. And there's reason to believe that over the past 92 days...
That's Trump 1, Eric, but go ahead.
Well,
yeah.
Could be Elon, right? Could be Howard Lutnick, could be Scott Bessent, could be Peter Navarro. Mm-hmm. Who has his ear right now?
I don't think any of them have his ear.
Really?
No, I think he's running off of his own internal mechanism. You each know narcissists. You know, maybe there's some in your families, maybe you're working with a few, maybe you dated one, maybe you married one, I don't know. But you've never met one like this. Okay, this is the purest of the pure that you can get. Okay, this is like refined perfection narcissism in a jar. And so what do you want? You want attention, you want dissent, you want all eyes on you, and you want to prove to everybody that you don't need anybody and that you're doing it. And so when they're in their obsequious cabinet room and they're chanting to him like he's like a North Korean dictator, and they're, you know, they got like the symbols like the monkeys, and they're going, you're great, and you're so great that I mentioned 5 minutes ago how great you are. He's laughing at them, actually. He can't believe that they're doing that. Like, he put those billionaires behind his family because he wanted to send a message to everybody. Look at these dopes. They're behind my family. I got them all kowtowing to me. Can you believe these dopes? And I got my cabinet people behind them. You see what he's doing? So no, he's not listening to anybody. And anybody that thinks that he's listening to anybody, then they really don't know him. And there's a reason why a lot of people are like, hey man, I'm not going back to work in the White House. I can't do this. Can't ruin my family for this. He's not listening to anybody. All right, but go ahead.
As we have heard on more than one occasion today, there's a lot of frustration in corporate America and on Wall Street with the amount of uncertainty, policy uncertainty, economic uncertainty. Why do you think, Anthony, the president seems so much less concerned and less responsive to the markets than at least we remember him being in the first term?
Okay, it's a great question. He's 78 years old. This is a vengeance tour. This is not a Make America Great Again tour. This is his vengeance tour. And so he likes the havoc that's being wreaked in the markets because it's hurting a lot of people. It's not really hurting him. He's insulated from it. And it's a vengeance tour. But I will say this about the CEOs, that we have had an arms race in this country of distrust. It probably started 40 or 50 years ago with Watergate, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And so when you poll the American people, do you trust the politicians? They say, no, we don't trust the politicians. And now we're in a series, we're in a culture, I don't want to say a series because it's a little bit more severe. We're in a culture of selfishness. So their CEOs are going to come sit on this couch and they're going to say, I hate the tariffs. Wow, what a disaster. I can't speak out about it. You know, my lawyers told me that I can't speak out about it because my lawyers just got riff-raffed by Trump and they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on free legal advice to help conservative causes. They just pled out to Trump, and so they're not going to really defend me. My spouse doesn't want me to do it. My board doesn't want me to do it. So you know what? I'm not going to do it. And this is a violation of a sacred trust that we have with each other in this room. This is a violation of the common weal. This is a violation of the commonwealth. You have to speak out. You have to get to a microphone, get to a podium, look into the camera, and you have to say that this trade war is irrational. It's hurting the American people. It's going to weaken the American dollar. It's going to weaken the American system. It's going to potentially threaten the primacy of America. And it's ill-founded, and it's not even based on any sound or grounded economic theory. And when he came down from Mount Evil with it was like Orange Moses with the tablet. Remember with the tablet? When he came down from Mount Evil with the tablet didn't even make any sense. And that it wasn't even grounded in any rationale related to any type of reciprocal tariffs or anything else. But they won't do it. They won't do it because we've changed up our society. You know, my uncle, who I'm named after, he left Port Washington in March of 1943. He's supposed to graduate in June of 43, but he left in March. You know why? They truncated his graduations. They had to ship him to the United Kingdom to train for the Normandy invasion. So he assaulted Normandy on the 6th of June at age 19, survived on the beach, got wounded in France, got the Purple Heart, stayed with his battalion, ended up in Potsdam, fought the Battle of the Bulge. Because that was a generation of people who said, hey man, I have an unconditional love affair with the country, and so I'm going to make a personal sacrifice for the betterment of the people of the country, and we're going to reject the values of authoritarianism, and I'm ready for the fight at age 19. Are you ready for the fight? Are you guys ready for the fight? I'm ready for the fight. So when you get a CEO that sits on the sofa, what do you guys want to do? Not one person in this room raised their hand and said, you know, I love the tariffs. This guy's playing 9D chess and all of the nonsense that these people are saying. Nobody said that. So if we don't speak up and we don't team up, we're in for it. And it's going to be a very difficult couple of years for the country.
What about the, you described, well, I have a couple of questions.
Now you know why I got my running shoes on, right? In case I gotta move fast. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
What
Actually, I
is
sprained my
a
ankle over the
CEO
weekend
to
playing
do?
basketball.
What's a chairman to do? Let's pretend for a moment that you're Brad Karp. You're the chairman of Paul Weiss, right? The
Yeah.
first law firm, first major, in fact, the first law firm, not the first major law firm, targeted by the Trump administration. One of the firms that has signed a deal giving hundreds of millions of dollars in pro bono work, as well as an end to certain practices and an agreement to fall under some scrutiny of the government. What should Brad Karp have done?
So I want to be sympathetic to him because I don't necessarily think there's anything else he could have done, but there's something. Well, there's something broader happening. Okay, the founders of the country wanted the government off the back of the people. Okay, the government works for us. We don't work for the government. The founders of the country did not want the weaponization of the government. Okay, the Democrats have also weaponized elements of the government. They've done this to each other, and so now you have a whataboutism that's going on, and Trump is just flexing a little more muscularly this weaponization. If you're running that company, Brad Karp, you want to call a law firm with private practice, and you've got all those people that are under you, and you have a responsibility to those people, if you're going to fight him, now Wilmer Hale decided to fight him. I think there were a few others, Perkins Coie, a few others.
Okay. Covington and Burling.
So the only
at least one that I'm missing.
The only thing he could have done in hindsight is he could have gone to 50 of those firms. Again, this is in hindsight. I like Brad. I know Brad. He could have called those firms, and he could have said, "Hey, listen, they're coming for me. I'm the first domino." Because this is how it works, guys. They hit a few dominoes, and then they're going to hit your domino. Okay, but they haven't hit your domino yet, so you're fine. But they're coming for your domino.
Order
so
filled.
Hit him. He should have got on the phone and called 50 of the top law firms in the country. He said, "Okay, they're hitting me right now. They're coming for you. We can make a decision here. We can team up with each other and join forces, and we can fight them together. If they come after me right now, I have to capitulate. Okay, and then you're going to capitulate, and then you're going to please." They didn't go after 50 law firms at once, because that's not the MO. Read the report. I read all 900 pages of it. These guys know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it. Okay, they want to weaken the media. They want to weaken the corporate establishment. They want to weaken the legal system, and then they want to flex on everybody. And by the way, they've now decided something that Thomas Jefferson would be like, "Wait, what? What are you doing exactly?" So you're endowed with inalienable rights from the Creator. Okay, and Jefferson didn't even believe in, remember, he cut all the stuff related to Jesus out of his Bible. If you go to Monticello, you can see it all cut out. But he was a Gnostic, right? He said probably something, but in the Declaration of Independence, your rights are tied to your body. Habeas corpus. Your rights are tied to your inalienable rights from the Creator. The Trump administration is saying, no, no, no. If you're in the country, you've got the rights, and if you're a citizen, you do. But if you're in the country and you're not a citizen, then you don't have the rights. Okay, that is a direct violation of the sacred, inalienable concepts that the country was created on.
Order
Everybody
filled.
understand that? And so if you're not going to fight that, they will come for you. They're not going to come for you today, but they will eventually come for you because they will arbitrarily decide that somebody in your family
Order
is
filled.
13. Well, how do we know that? Well, there's no due process. You know, we just woke up this morning and decided that your son is MS-13. He's at the border. He's got a U.S. passport. He's trying to get back in. You know, we don't like what you said on Twitter about our administration. He's heading to Guantanamo. We think he's part of MS-13. They're just going to do it to the guys that are tatted up. They're not going to do it to my son. It's okay until the dominoes start clicking. See, the dominoes start clicking. So those rights, those human rights, are for human beings, and it's an idea that the country was founded on that has made every family in this room prosperous, has made every family in this room aspirationally successful. You want to give up those rights because you're afraid of some violence? I would tell you, don't give up those rights. You should fight for those rights with every fiber, every syllable, every muscle fiber in your body.
So, as we've established, some law firms have chosen to go to court and fight the administration. Harvard,
That's what they should have,
right, where you earned your law degree, is fighting the administration.
Yeah.
Even if, in your mind, and I
Well, Harvard did something different, though. See, what they did was they went out to did anybody see that letter? I mean, there were like 40 or 50 university presidents that signed the letter with them. So Harvard learned from the law firms. See, this is where Mr. Karp got hit, and he reacted the way a normal person would react, because you're like, okay, I'm dealing with the American government, but it's not a normal American government anymore. You got to get that out of your head, guys. It's not a normal American government anymore. This has been a hostile takeover of your government, and it's been a hostile takeover of the processes and the respect for the government.
Order filled.
You could hate George W. Bush. He's an institutionalist. He followed the government.
Order
hate
filled.
Nixon.
Order filled.
Institutionalist. Pick the president. Donald Trump is an anti-institutionalist. He wants to annihilate the system, and he's got a list of things that he wants to do to annihilate the system. He wrote it all down for you. Go read it. And so what Harvard did was, okay, we're Harvard. If we don't stand up, we won't. Now, there are two professors there that, and I can't remember their names, forgive me, but somebody can Google them and share them with me, How Democracies Die. It's a great book. It came out 2 years ago. They went to the administration. They went to the board of governors at Harvard, said, he's coming down the book. We're on chapter 5 right now. Okay, he's going to try to annihilate the democracy. This institution, 1636, stands for the democracy. If we don't fight with our $53 billion endowment and our alums, okay, who's going to fight? And oh, by the way, we got to team up with these other guys. Okay, but he's coming. He's coming, and we got to fight him. And so now they got flummoxed by that, and so they put out a thing that said, oh, there's an email that accidentally went out. Because now there's a spotlight, right? You know, when the roach is moving a lot faster in the kitchen when the light goes on, okay? And so when the light went on, and you read the email, which was like 9 or 10 of the things that they were stipulating in the email were illegal. And now the administration, holy, well, we didn't totally corrupt the legal system yet, or all the judges. We can't have this email out there with so illegal. We sent that to them by error. I got to scratch my nose for a second here. Hold on a second. Come on, guys. Come on, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Are we going to really sit here and pretend that this is not happening to the country? Because if you want to do that, we can do that. But I can't do that. Okay? Because I had 2 uncles in the Battle of the Bulge. I had my father in the U.S. I'm not doing that. And I know the guy. And I know what he's capable of. And I know the team around him. So I'll speak out. And if it gives you the courage to speak out, please speak out. Get on the phone and call your congressman or woman. What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? This system has worked. It's one of the most prosperous countries, if not the most prosperous country in the world. We don't want to wreck the system. He doesn't have a mandate to wreck the system. He won by 300,000 votes. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. You got more questions. We're out of time.
I'm doing my best to get through the question. Thank you very much, by the way, everybody. Lots of questions.
Live. I said one curse word. You're not impressed by that, Eric? Well, not one curse word came out.
This may be the very first time.
Could be.
But we haven't finished yet.
I never curse on TV so far. All right, go ahead.
People here would like to know, do you have intentions of running for public office? Would you do it?
I'm trying to run for re-election in my marriage, okay? I'm just trying to stay married, okay? I mean, guys, I almost got divorced working for Donald. You know, my wife hates Donald Trump almost as much as Melania hates him. And I'm talking, that's like up here, okay? I mean, you know. The problem with running for office is that you have to start lying. The minute you go to run for office, they give you a sheet, you come into a room like this, these 30 people, you say that, they're going to organize against you, and you got to start lying. I don't want to be that person. If you run for office, I'll help you. How's that?
I asked you a few months ago, not long after the election, whether the Republican Party, perhaps in the House, but especially in the Senate, would function as a check or balance on President Trump. And you addressed this to a degree earlier in your remarks. The answer, of course, is no, at least not yet.
No, they're too afraid.
What, if anything, would change that?
The people in this room, their donors, phone calls, CEOs that took the Harvard way. If the top Fortune 50 or the S&P 50 got together and said, hey, man, Remember, he can get you. He's the government. He's 25% of our GDP. He can get you if you're acting alone, but he really can't get you if you're acting in a consortium. And so if you told me that the S&P 100 went to John Thune and said, hey man, we don't like this, and we're just letting you know, we're going to find candidates that are going to defeat you guys that are not as crazy as you people. Okay.
Order filled.
That would stop it.
You predicted earlier that the midterms would go poorly for the Republican Party.
If the current, so the best thing that the Republican Party has going for this current Republican Party are the Democrats. I've never seen a group of people that are in more disarray or don't understand the culture war that they're fighting or don't understand where the middle of America is. I don't understand. It's unbelievable. But I predict that Trump is going to arrogantly make so many mistakes that you're going to hold your nose and you're going to vote for them. Okay, the same way there was about 5 or 8% of the country said, okay, these Democrats are wild. They blew out the sitting president, who was obviously sunsetting, could barely put a sentence together. And then they installed a person. They're the guys that are supposed to be for the democracy. There's no democracy. There's no primary in New Hampshire. They kicked Bobby Kennedy and Elon Musk out of the party. I mean, these people are stew not, okay? And you can look that up in the Italian dictionary, okay? They kicked 2 guys out of the party that could help them. Lyndon Johnson would have said, get everybody in the tent. I want everybody in the tent pissing this way out of the tent. Don't let anybody out of the tent that could piss inside the tent. That's what Lyndon Johnson would have said, but not these Democrats. So these people are wild in terms of how disorganized they are and how disarray they are. But I predict the same thing's going to happen. People voted for Trump. They said, okay, wow, we don't know her. We gave her 107 days to litigate her case. We don't know her. You know, Trump won wasn't so bad. Hold my nose, vote for Donald. You know how many Wall Street people I know that did that? And you know Wall Street people. So I think that's what's going to happen. I do believe that. I'm bullish that he gets annihilated. I'm bullish that the system holds and this perversity of what they're doing to the American people and the world will be stomped out by the American people. But we need people to wake up, and we need people to get up and say, hey, you're right, and we got to figure this out, and we got to get some smart people in the game. You know? These sycophants are ridiculous. I mean,
we do have to finish.
If you run your company like the cabinet meeting, I mean, my God, right? You'd be really bummed out, man, right? Eric, you look so good today. And by the way, you're doing just such an amazing job as a journalist, Eric, and I'm just so proud to be on this stage with you, Eric. And I love your suit and tie.
Where are the symbols?
What they're like hand signals or what? Oh, the symbols. Eric, fantastic.
I want you to finish by second guessing yourself. Yeah. How and why might you be wrong?
Well, listen, I've been humbled by life. I've been humbled by markets. That's a hopeful answer. I'm an American optimist, and I'm too short to see the glass anything other than half full. So when I look at the glass, I see it as full. And so that's my optimistic assessment. But I could be wrong in that there is tribalistic culture in the country. There are news media organizations that are chanting right alongside of him. There's a very large group of people in the country that you can't even argue facts with. They think we're playing 4D chess and America has all the cards when the Chinese know we don't have half the cards that the other Americans think. And so there could be a situation here where he causes such a crisis that the Americans typically lean on their president when they're in such a big crisis. Now, he's causing the crisis, so maybe they'll turn on him. But, you know, when there's a war, go look at Bush's approval rating. Look at Bush 1's approval ratings, George Herbert Walker Bush. Look at George W. Bush. So I could be wrong. There's a crisis afoot. We're entering into a steep, possibly steep recession if this nonsense doesn't get reversed. And you could see a perversity of galvanization towards him as a result of the crisis. And that would really suck, okay? That would really suck.
I was thinking more along the lines of how might he be right?
Oh, how he would be right?
Well, I mean...
There's no way that he's right, okay? There's no way. There's no way. So, I mean, we're not even going in that direction. He's playing 9G chess, and they're all going to come running. There's 75 people trying to make a deal with him. he's declared war, okay? Everybody remember Admiral Yamamoto? What did Yamamoto want, okay? The emperor didn't want it. Yamamoto said, let's hit the Americans. They just embargoed us with the oil. Hirohito said no, he didn't want to do it, but he was under the control of that military tribunal. MacArthur knew that, which is why, and plus the ancient culture, they left him in power after the war. But Trump is the Yamamoto of Trade War I. Okay, someone's going to write the history in 50 years, and they're going to say, wow, the American president who had the mantle of global leadership and created a rules-based society in 80 days, he wrecked 80 years of hard work in 80 days, and he tried to bring down what America represents to the rest of the world. And by the way, for me as an American, that is very uncool, and it is very un-American. And so he's already done so much damage that there's no way that he's right. Even if he gets up tonight, fires his economic team, reverses all the tariffs, you've set in motion now European independence. You've set in motion now, whoa, I got to team up with the Chinese on certain things over here. You got Carney, you know Carney. I mean, I worked at Goldman with Carney. Carney's like, man, the relationship is over, elbows up. That's what you want? Don't fight with people that live in cold weather, okay? Don't fight with Chatsworth, okay? He's a Canadian. But the people in cold weather, they get very upset when you're fighting with them, okay? And I don't want to fight with the Canadians. This guy's picking a fight with Greenland and the Canadians. He's done unbelievable, systemic, irreparable damage. And so there's no way that he's right about that stuff. He could still have the American people behind him because of the circumstances, but there's no way you could convince me that what he's done thus far hasn't set in motion decision-making around the world where they're now diverging their interests with the United States. I don't believe that. Do you believe that? You look great, though, with the hair and everything, and the glasses. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, you really just pitch-perfect anchor person.
We could keep going, but I'm respectful of your time, so please join me in thanking Anthony.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Is that okay?
We are done for now. Um, we'll be back at 8. See how it rolls from there forward. Thank you kindly for everybody watching. Subscribe, like, dislike. Tell me where you're from. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Any suggestions? They're all well. We're here to learn.